Hello, everyone. You're listening to the Keyword Crypto Podcast with Michael and JJ. On this show, we think that everyone needs a healthy dose of skepticism, and we're here to provide that. If you like this show, support us. Check out the description of this podcast or find us on Twitter at Keyword Crypto. Check out our website, www.keyword-crypto.com. Tell your friends, tell your family, share this show, get in touch with us, and help us figure out who's going to be our next guest. Thanks for listening and enjoy the show. Welcome back to Keyword Crypto. Thank you for joining us. Today we have a special guest, Kyle Gibson. Kyle is making a name for himself in the crypto space as a writer, journalist, somebody who's outspoken about scams and things like Bitfinex and Tether, and just in general things that you need to be concerned with, like cybersecurity and personalities and all that kinds of stuff. So, Kyle, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I don't know how you heard of me, but
you know how I heard of you. That's actually a good thing to start with because it'll allow us to explain what this show is. Michael and I started this show because we were a little bit skeptical of crypto, even though we owned cryptocurrency ourselves. We were into
that's
Bitcoin.
Healthy.
And I should, yeah, totally. And I should also mention that you are a self-proclaimed angry no-coiner, right? Okay, so Michael and I thought, well, let's start a show where we talk about these things. We talk about issues that we have concern with, that people aren't answering these questions properly, or they're not asking the right questions. And so I would follow like Bitfinex, and then I started to follow some other people who were saying things that were like, yeah, that seems to make sense. Yeah, there's obviously a problem with Tether and stuff like that. And you came around as somebody who had some clever things to say too, and you were making some cool content. So then I started following you, and then we were just mentioning Joshua Davis. He's another kind of guy. He's got a lot of shit to say. Carbon based, yes. And then there's a few other people on Twitter. That's how I found you. And I started following you and just kind of like,
the system works, man.
You make good stuff. So yeah, totally. Every human is now connected to every other human.
I think crypto
the reason we want you
is a perfect vehicle for Twitter addiction, or a perfect foil.
and the real reason that we wanted to have you on the show was that we actually have never had a no-coiner on the show.
Thank you, man.
And it's actually a little unusual to find a no-coiner that is so enthusiastic about crypto. So that's my first question to you is, how did you get into crypto and why are you still here?
That's a very good question. I think I got into crypto with a big wave of people that were reading about, hearing about their friends at college using Silk Road and Mt. Gox. But me specifically, I think, or the moment that I can remember is reading about them catching Ross Ulbricht and kind of how Bitcoin was used on his platform as a what some people thought was anonymous, but is kind of anything but anonymous, system. So that was probably, late 2013. And I was also active on Reddit at the time, and probably I had some purview into the cryptocurrency subreddits there because I was active in. There's a subreddit called Subreddit Drama, and cryptocurrency obviously is a heavy source of internet drama. And right. I can remember.
What is that again?
Subreddit Drama was a active community of like-minded individuals who, similar to crypto Twitter today, were perhaps a little bit too involved in the politics of the site. But just talking about, dramatic happenings in subreddits, and some of them were r/Bitcoin, which obviously that group has been a source of a lot of controversy and petty drama, but actual seedy conflict of interest stuff too with their moderators.
All right. But you never so you were skeptical from the beginning, but you were interested. So you never
yeah.
You never wanted to own Bitcoin, or you did and you did not buy any because of.
I didn't buy Bitcoin probably until I was already working in the crypto space and wanted to try and trade a range. I think it was the range from like 12,000 to 14,000 or something like that. So actually, it might have been 2017 or 2018, but not until really late. When I first learned about Bitcoin, I was never interested in buying it. I always, from the very beginning, thought that it was just going to be a bubble, no matter how large it became. It would just crash indefinitely over and over again, which is kind of what it has, which is what, if you look at obviously a lot of other assets you can, and others, or, proper securities, you can say the same thing. But I think Bitcoin, because of how it was distributed in the beginning and because of the regulatory ambiguity, to say it the most diplomatic way, there's been just no active pursuit of real transparency by the users of these platforms trading cryptocurrencies, which I think has just led to the position that we're in now of entrenched kind of mega exchanges with who knows how many different groups of kind of whale-ish traders, and who knows how much of the capital that those whale traders are trading that actually represent new money, or if they represent, capital that they've received from the crazy 10,000% gains of all these cryptocurrencies and not just Bitcoin.
So, but before we start getting into what the problems with the exchanges and stuff are, which we're going to get into it, can you tell us what you do in terms of your work involved with crypto? Maybe give us an idea of your involvement in the space.
It's not much,
holder,
but what I'm doing now is writing articles aimed at corporate education related to, we're calling it blockchain technology or distributed ledgers, and where our articles are not so much focused on the cryptocurrency community or Bitcoin. And so really my crypto Twitter stuff is my, what I do in my spare time, I guess, and at work. But so I'm working for a company called MIT Horizon. It's a startup being funded by the Open Learning Initiative there, which is separate to the the education and faculties kind of part of MIT.
At MIT,
and we're writing on emerging technology topics. We have a set of 25 that we're trying to build up a content library for in the next.
What are some of the other things you're writing about in addition to
crypto? So I'm on the artificial intelligence team, and we have 3D printing or additive manufacturing going right now. So we have 3, and we're starting 2 in the next 2 months, and going
futury stuff,
going in that pace, hopefully accelerating. But it's 6 months in.
So if you had to
this startup, and I'm coming from having been laid off from a crypto advisory or an ICO advisory that blew up.
An ICO advisory,
not blew up, imploded.
You were advising ICOs.
I was supporting the teams that were directly advising the ICOs, and it's an important distinction to make when there are possibly regulatory, mistakes being made. This.
Yeah. Okay.
So if you had to, you've been writing about it, you've been making videos about it, you've been advising about it on it. How would you, to somebody who just walked into the space and was like, I have $1,000, I've heard about Bitcoin. I've heard about crypto. What would you say to them?
And their goal is to make money, obviously.
Sure, yeah, like long term. They like, oh, it's already gone up to $10,000, and like I, it may keep going up. Like, what would you just if they had $1,000?
If they had $1,000 and they don't
something.
mind losing it, I would say, spend, kind of the best thing you can do is just read on your own time. Not the documentation, good articles that describe the different theses behind, I was listening to your talk with Vitalik. And so they might listen to him speak and, that might gel with their whatever mentality better, and this is all speculation. And so I think you just got to go with your intuition. And so I have nothing against people speculating with money that they really have no problem losing. Now, it's a different question of I only have $1,000 to spend and it needs to somehow make up, and it needs to do really well to make up for other poor financial planning or kind of I've borrowed this $1,000 from my uncle and told him I'm going to give it back in a month. That's a totally different question.
There are a lot of people in crypto like that are like, I have gambling debts. How am I going to take care of those? Let's invest in crypto.
Yeah. And I actually just won't.
So you're not coming at it from kind of. So you're not coming at it saying, don't invest in crypto.
So maybe
it's all
the
a scam.
angry no coiner label is inaccurate. So because I'm not saying don't buy any crypto ever. Sometimes I might tweet to that effect, but only to get a reaction.
It's Twitter. Why else would you be doing it?
But
because in your video, which one was it? It was the Leonard Cohen.
Everybody knows
song video.
Bitfinex and Tether is a fraud, and the point of that title is that I don't expect to be sued by them, and I had to write a title that would give me the best chance to kind of test that thesis, I guess.
Yeah. But the very last clip you have is some guy saying Bitcoin is a fraud.
I don't remember that exact clip.
Which has nothing to do with Bitfinex and Tether.
That's true.
So, but yeah, there was some Asian guy.
Oh, okay. Okay, I know what clip they are talking about, and now I kind of regret using that clip because that dude, so this has occurred to me many times over, but either a person starts promoting like a project that you have negative preconceived notions about, or they start hammering on some point. But crypto Twitter, as I'm sure you both are aware, can get very, very polarizing and mean and ineffective too. It's so a waste of time, everybody's time, to just go and block immediately on your first disagreement or 50th even.
It's crazy.
So if somebody has $1,000 to invest in crypto, then your advice is go read and go listen, but maybe avoid Twitter.
Avoid Twitter. Don't. So I see a lot of and people respond to my stuff with asking about is this a good time to buy Bitcoin? If you think it's being pumped by Bitfinex, shouldn't I buy Bitcoin now? I've had people ask me that. Yeah. Don't speculate based on, monopolistic market manipulation or the kind that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Because the whole point of that is that they want you to make really dumb investment decisions. They're just making this show for you, in my opinion.
So okay, so let's start talking about some of the
Hold
stuff.
on, really fast, really fast.
Ahead,
so you were talking about that Asian guy. Oh, you said you regret that.
That's a hedge fund manager dude who just he doesn't believe that Bitcoin is a total scam. I think actually he was saying that sarcastically, maybe, in his video. And he is a hedge fund guy who I think his handle is like OTC hedge fund or BTC hedge fund or something like that.
He's on YouTube.
He's on
right?
YouTube and he makes a bunch of videos.
That guy's like
many people in crypto Twitter. He's on YouTube and he makes a lot of videos of himself in front of his computer talking about whatever.
I'm pretty sure that guy is a serial scam artist.
Yeah, he is.
Like I think he's historic. Like he's not allowed to come back to the United States or something because he's taken on too many identities or whatever. There's actually a website that goes through all of the different scams he's run over the last decade, and some of them are like, when I look at that list, I'm like, damn, this is impressive. Like I've got to take my hat off to this guy
because he's been financial predators like that.
Yeah.
That.
Oh, we actually did a show that was talking about how crypto somehow gives legitimacy to some of these scammers. Mm-hmm. Like people who would normally be despised, all of a sudden come into crypto, right, and they say price is going to go up, and it does, and now all of a sudden everyone forgives them for being scammers in the past. John McAfee is a good example. I mean,
it's not just crypto. Like Donald Trump, pumped money into rich people, and then all of a sudden the stock market goes up. It's like, of course it's going to go up. It's a bunch of free money.
Not just in crypto,
on the stock market,
but crypto is a real place where you can get redeemed. I mean, that like Shil Nye guy who was just like a full-on scammer. Now it's like, oh yeah, well, that was back in the day when you scammed us. Now come on and be our leader.
Right. A great example is the Trayvon BitConnect.
Yeah,
Trayvon James.
Yeah, he's another.
I respect his bravado of just continuing with.
It's one of those things. Like, I don't know if it's crypto.
Wild.
It could be crypto. It could be just the digital age, where it's like if you make content that people like, then they'll forgive you for whatever terrible.
Well,
shit
also, I think there's a component of, I can block people on Twitter and gain new followers, and basically, ignore the problem and actively insulate myself from the problem and start over.
All right. God, we're going to probably see so much more of that in the future as things just become more and more digital. I mean, it's just
but more importantly, you're insulating your new followers from, which is just creepy.
That's totally fucked up. Yeah.
Oh man.
So I've been blocked by a lot of people, like Craig Wright, who I yelled at him for yelling. I was yelling at him for yelling at a brand. He was yelling at a fitness, Bowflex company about their customer service. Yeah, it was like some kind of Australian equivalent of Bowflex, and he was yelling at them on Twitter. And I said something to the effect of, don't be a chick. Ban me.
Don't be an old man shouting at the moon.
Yeah.
That's like basically
ban me, so I can't interact.
I got banned by Tone Vase, and I've never even met the guy.
Interact with
didn't interact with him
probably
once.
He's got like the greatest show in town on crypto Twitter, or I imagine.
Absolutely.
Because now I can't see it.
Well, Craig is Craig Wright even still on Twitter?
Oh no, he got deleted.
I don't think so.
He got deleted. You're right.
He got deleted. Okay. Yeah, he's still a good show though. I mean, that's for sure. That's what, in my opinion, this movie has taken the turn of, we're coming to the Craig Wright climax, which has been.
No, it definitely helps though.
Totally entertaining.
It definitely helps if you want to be able to kind of continue a fraud, to have some charisma and ability to at least pretend to be able to grow an audience, because probably some of them are buying followers anyway. But to kind of maintain like a stone face and, not falter too much.
It's pretty amazing.
Except for when you're crying in court.
I mean, he falters constantly, but it seems to not matter.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. It is pretty impressive. Like the OTC Bitcoin guy, I'm like, yeah, damn, I got to hand it to him. He's pretty good at doing this thing. And Now it's like, yeah, people are probably giving him money like hand over fist.
Really quickly. No, sorry. Go on. We can get up.
I just wanted to ask you now that we've got an idea of who you are and why you're in the space and stuff like that. I wanted to ask you what your kind of current mission is, or what you're doing, particularly on Twitter, because that's where you're putting a lot of your content, either on Medium or YouTube or Twitter. And you write a lot about, I mean, you've written articles about how to keep your crypto safe and stuff about
regulations,
regulations, scams.
Right.
You said that you were up for the court appearance of the Quadriga. What was that about?
Yeah.
I mean, so basically, I want to know what you're currently trying to do in the crypto space.
So I am not out any money. I don't have a vendetta, and I don't have, I talk about Bitfinex a lot, but by even numbers wise, they are a very significant player in the space. So that doesn't really mean much. I would say my mission with my crypto Twitter account is to just provide kind of, or be the change in the crypto space that I want to see, that kind of thing. And, as I was very active on other platforms kind of before migrating to Twitter. So, it's not, if I wasn't obsessed with crypto, I think I would be tweeting about something else, electric scooters or something.
I see.
But, I'm trying to just educate and provide. So I thread my content. I used to talk about Bitfinex and use like my own hashtag called TetherQ, but I stopped using that. The QAnon stuff really actually isn't funny if you actually go and read about it.
Right.
Yeah, it's pretty intense.
So I stopped doing that. But I try and on Twitter, get share of voice for the skeptic view by responding to the crypto influencers that have not blocked me yet, I guess, who are, I think, espousing either misinformed or uninformed views on, take just the one event with Quadriga, which I'll get into the court date stuff. But with Quadriga CX, they had a lot of other companies, other payment processors working with them to kind of perpetrate this fraud, which the government now is just explicitly saying that Gerald Cotton, the operator, like, at least they're not using the word fraud, but they're saying that he pilfered customer funds and gambled with it on other exchanges, and paid people out through these other payment processors. But anyway, on Twitter, I think there's a danger if the other crypto exchange CEOs, such as Jesse Powell, can own 100% of what new entrants to the cryptocurrency space will see of him. Kraken has been investigating the Quadriga CX stuff, but I think they've been downplaying how fucked up and bad it makes all crypto exchanges look if that can happen.
You think that?
Yeah.
You said Jesse from Kraken. That's who you're talking about?
Yeah. I think I've heard some stuff, and he's, in my opinion, downplaying that event. My opinion.
You think he's downplaying the Quadriga scandal?
No, not just the Quadriga scandal in and of itself. Downplaying and not giving a new to crypto audience the whole picture of how much help and how it wasn't just insulated to Quadriga is what I'm saying, if that makes sense.
Gotcha.
So
gotcha. And how rampant it is in all of them.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
You mean
how I think it is,
not just Quadriga.
how rampant I think it
in
is.
all exchanges, probably. I mean, there's no oversight. There's no oversight in any of them that can stop them from just taking our money and gambling it like a bank does.
No oversight and huge incentives.
So, for people who don't know what we're talking about, the guy in charge of Quadriga was apparently taking traders or investors' funds and margin trading with them and losing a bunch of money, right?
Right.
Not just that,
and
just
taking
like
cash from people too.
Yeah,
and
like
helping them
partying and
I guess launder it.
Okay, actually taking it to Vegas and gambling and stuff. Okay.
And he went on dozens of trips with like private jets, and they bought 9 homes and an island, a whole bunch of stuff. It's a very, very interesting story, and could talk a long time about it. But anyway,
but
the
you have much more
situation there, I think, should, to rational investors, make you very hesitant to use an exchange that hasn't been vetted very well. And obviously, and this is like the basic 101 tip, but don't leave crypto for longer than you have to on an exchange anyway.
Which is a crazy thing that people have seemed to have forgotten about. It was that, at least when I came into crypto, that was like the number one rule. I remember when I first bought Bitcoin and I told a friend of mine, he was like, "Do you have it on any exchanges?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Get it off." And now I feel like everybody's been lulled to sleep by Binance, for one. And they've only just woken up when, it's like, oh, we're going to close it to U.S. customers. And then everyone freaks out. It's like, well, why do you even have money there in the first place? You shouldn't have it on Binance.
Like, where am I going to keep my crypto? You're like, on a wallet like you're supposed to, dumbass.
Yeah.
But you have people like, family friends are like, we get our parents interested in it and they buy a little bit. And like, they've got a little bit on Coinbase. Coinbase is technically insured. It's not FDIC insured, but it has an insurance company that's vetted by the government.
Right.
So I feel like relatively safe with people who have small amounts who are just kind of like, oh, I should put $100 in whatever, having them keep it on Coinbase versus like, okay, now this is how you get your wallet. This is how you're going to keep your seeds safe. And it's just like, my mom's not going to know how to do all that, even if I walk her through it. It's just like, So
the real actual,
but those aren't the people who are going to be going on Binance.
Yeah. And the real actual people who are at danger are not, I think, people who are investing and trying to build like a Bitcoin nest egg. They're trying to use it as like a remittance. Like with Quadriga, I can't remember his name, but Bloomberg interviewed one specific person who lost a lot of money, and he did it, or he sent like $400,000 worth of Bitcoin just directly straight up to Quadriga, hoping for that to be a more cost-effective way of shifting that amount of money to Canada from the U.S. Which I didn't really understand his thinking process for that. But if you're Quadriga and you can somehow, create the situation where someone thinks that they can safely, basically wire you for $500,000.
$500,000. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So that's those. Oh, man. If I'm trying to reach anybody on crypto Twitter, it's that specific trader and other who are anything like that person, who would take a very critical financial decision, I think, without kind of being aware of how easy it would be to set up a shop like Quadriga to rip people off.
Yeah. So, well, that kind of sets the stage for talking about stuff that people really take for granted in this space. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
It's like every one of these crappy exchanges has something shady going on. And even probably the ones that are seemingly legit probably have some weird stuff going on. But all of these that are unregulated, man, I don't know. CZ has really managed to pull the wool over people's eyes and convince them that their funds are SAFU.
Yeah.
And
well, I mean, he's convinced them because he's made them SAFU.
Yeah, I mean,
when stuff got lost, he fixed it. He replaced it out of his own money. He's and that's the thing. I don't want to go. I don't want us to be the podcast that says every single small exchange is stealing.
No,
from
I
you.
was actually going to cut in and say that it's unfortunate because I have met some people who are trying to build like reputable actual exchanges.
Yeah, I think it's safe to. I think it's safe to have the mindset that assume every single exchange is trying to rip you off.
Yeah.
But they're not all. There are good people out there. But if you act under the assumption that people are trying to steal from you, you're gonna. I mean, it's best to take really. It's best to assume the worst and hope for the best. But if you have all the assumptions in place that they're going to steal from you, then you're going to like watch your back. You're going to make sure to send small amounts first to make sure it goes through, or blah blah. Like all these little things that safeguards to protect yourself. They can be it could be my grandmother. You should still treat it as somebody who's going to try to take your money,
right?
And don't get lulled.
Yeah, so I bought.
So that's. I mean,
I bought Bitcoin through Coinbase just as a test, and I wanted to try and see if I could time a 2-week range. I think I made like $20 or something.
How'd that work out for
on
you?
like a $500 deposit to Coinbase, and then sent back out something above that. I don't remember what it was. But I'm a super conservative investor, and I do my own kind of mutual fund, boring, one or two action a week kind of stuff.
Oh, that's good. Nice. So what's like, okay, so you've been doing what you've been doing. Where do you want to see the crypto space be at this point? Do you want to see it highly regulated? Do you want to see it more? I mean,
no,
the idea
not highly regulated.
Self-regulation.
Yeah. Sorry, go on.
Doesn't. Yeah, the idea of self-regulation is just kind of a myth that was created by Wall Street, and so because nobody rich actually self-regulates themselves, they just they steal as much as they can until they get caught.
Is that what self-regulation? I thought self-regulation meant that the organizations are going to kind of keep themselves and keep each other in check.
Yeah.
But that never works because they just turn a blind eye because they're like, oh shit, I don't want to call them out and be the asshole because then we're stealing a little bit too, and then we're going to get caught, and then it's like nobody tells on each other because everyone's
crypto
stealing.
Things are a little more complicated than that. I don't think that self-regulation can work in crypto, but then it's like, I mean, I don't know. Kyle, what do you think about that?
I want to see a more kind of overt effort at self-regulation before I personally kind of write it off. I think that there's I've seen some project in the space and read some white papers that seem to come from people who have a lot of energy for very active like diplomacy and people involved blockchains. Coti, COTI is one example that they kind of describe arbitration, actual people who can log into some kind of platform to arbitrate like payment disputes on it, stuff like that. But anyway, if that can be applied to the exchange space, and I think it'd be kind of cool to see crypto exchanges like Coinbase call out more bad behavior. That's part of self-regulation.
Yeah, though that would be something if the exchanges were a little more vocal about stuff that was going on.
Vocal and actively kind of showing that they're working with other people, because self-regulation is, obviously about that.
So I guess you're more hopeful about those places than I am, because you're like, I'd like to give them a shot. I mean, it's 9 years in and no one's self-regulating.
As far as it comes to crypto itself, it's kind of simple what needs to happen. The more complicated stuff is all political and, geopolitical or whatever.
Okay.
Which is why
that's an interesting point.
A lot of exchanges are setting up shop on islands.
Right. Yeah. Let's get into something juicy. Let's talk about, you're on the front lines talking about Tether and Bitfinex, and that's kind of one of the things that you're most outspoken
for
about.
Now 2 years.
Yeah. So tell us something about Tether and Bitfinex that we don't know. Like, tell us something that give us some conspiracy theories that we haven't heard yet, and nothing that's going to get us killed or anything like that, but something you've found out that you're surprised that people still aren't taking seriously.
Well, there's the New York Attorney General's order against Bitfinex. I think a lot of people are not paying attention to the Southern District of New York. They went and actually arrested a guy, Reginald Fowler, who was a NFL quarterback, or not quarterback, really? Linebacker, I don't know, something.
A football player.
But
okay.
He is charged with like setting up kind of piggyback accounts, or I don't know what the proper term is, but some kind of money laundering accounts for crypto capital. The order or the complaint against him says Global Trade Solutions, which people, I think it was through the Panama Papers or somehow people have linked in a very strong way the owners of Global Trade Solutions with crypto capital, which is a company that supposedly Bitfinex, I think, claimed that ripped them off.
That was their backer, right? Or that was their.
However, whichever of the million ways you can want to interpret Bitfinex's responses to the judge, but basically, what people kind of, I think, will be surprised about are the more one. There's other exchanges mentioned, but not by name, in the Reginald Fowler case, which could be almost as big names as Bitfinex. And two, the way in which the money that was seized from all these entities and why it was seized. And when that comes out, I think will be a big bombshell. If that's too nebulous for you, I apologize.
So you think there's going to be... facts?
The investigation that led to that, and I have no inkling or no inside knowledge of what it is, but my gut tells me that it was some kind of Silk Road-esque affair.
Okay, that's good. I like this. We don't have any facts or anything. We're just throwing stuff out there.
Which in the time since Silk Road, there have been however many. There's been like almost probably half a dozen other markets like that have been shut down.
Sure. Yeah.
So there's probably more than that. Anyway, so that's not really a big conspiracy, but
well, and it's weird that New York seems to be the only state that actually cares about going after.
Why is that? I mean, they're more regulated there.
Because
but why not California? California is heavily regulated.
It's the New York Attorney General. They used the Martin Act, and that's like the most aggressive. If you go and watch on Netflix, they have the documentary series Dirty Money, and there's an episode on HSBC, which has some corollaries to the Bitfinex and Tether stuff. One of them being that an attorney general from, I think, West Virginia or something had what he thought was sufficient evidence to bring the same kind of order that Letitia James, the attorney general in New York, brought.
And what was that order?
He was it was an order like to HSBC to show them records relating to like cartel money, something like that, some organized crime thing. But he talks about how the politics of when you get to be a U.S. attorney, going after a company like HSBC, he was pressured not to go through with that order.
I'm sure.
And later on, the New York Attorney General had like been working on some like deal, or deal makes it sound bad. Some agreement.
So you think separately. That the New York Attorney General has some sort of reason to be going after Bitfinex other than just the fact that it's New York. Like there's some there's politics behind it that go. So beyond.
That's what I was trying to get at before was I have just a suspicion and no kind of reason to really think it other than relating it to other similar cases. But I think that there was some investigation that led to, well, it says in plain words in the complaint against Reginald Fowler that around like October, they seized money from a New York bank account, like a lot of money from a New York bank account. So that's one reason that the New York Attorney General might be interested in it, because, whose money was that? What was it doing there, etc.
So it's just kind of the scene of the crime.
It's also Wall Street, and they're dealing with these banks and hedge funds, and so it just seems natural that they would be the ones to go to look into crypto as well.
And with Tether specifically, I would think that New York being, financial epicenter that it is, that the head regulator or whatever, head prosecutor. See, I'm not a lawyer, but I would think that they would be the agency to bring like a case against what I view personally as a huge FU, a huge middle finger to the United States economy or financial regulations.
Yeah, I can see that. The U.S. and
Tether,
New York especially, is known for their their financial powerhouse and how they make things run. And so to have something like Bitfinex and Tether come along and say like, hey, we just have the version of the U.S. dollar. They're not gonna like
version of the U.S. dollar that can have like a high throughput of, transactions of like real estate kind of level. If you go and look at just directly transactions being made with USDT, so there's so many of them. They're like $1.5 million, $670,000. New York, I think, would be interested in all the fees that might be lost by the banks for moving that much.
It's also funny that like Bitcoin people complain to no end about just the U.S. government printing unlimited dollars and inflation and this and that. I never really hear Bitcoin people complaining about Tether when it's literally the same exact thing, because that's actually propping up Bitcoin and helps Bitcoin.
Most people into Bitcoin, whether they say it or not, are into Bitcoin because they want to see the number go up. That's the reason that they're in it. And so anything that challenges that, people don't want to hear. That's the reason that we started this show, is because like people are so obsessed with their value going up that they're just they don't want to entertain the idea that, how many times have we had Tether scares or just like stuff that was like there's a million reasons why you should be careful using Tether. Like you should be scared of it. You should not trust it. You should like everything about it. And so many people are just like, you know what? It's the most liquid. It's the one I'll use. Kyle, what do you think about the other stable coins? Do you think that they're full of like criminal activity as well, or
their companies act a lot differently? Gemini specifically goes through all these, this like gauntlet of, well, they went through this huge process of getting to be a bank in New York, or not a bank. More or less a bank. Custodial.
Same
whatever.
with Coinbase, yeah, and the USDC.
Went through that whole process in a very public way, make attestations and all that from actual firms. So they are very distinct from Tether, and how they react to market conditions is different. For example, Gemini has like deflated in the last 6 months. Mm-hmm. Tether has inflated massively.
Yeah.
So they're a bit different, but I don't have as much of an ire for them, because at least as of yet, we haven't found that like Gemini wasn't like a separate coin, and then we later on find out that the Gemini exchange owns it.
Yes. So
stuff like that.
Yes.
Is nice.
So Bitfinex owns Tether. They operate Tether, and that's a real conflict of interest. Now,
well, the whole center piece of evidence in the New York Attorney General case against them is the agreement they had, where basically like two guys who are the head guys of Bitfinex and the head guys of Tether, Phil Potter and Gene Vandervelde, I think, or was it John Carlo? One of them. They both like signed the agreement between the two companies to loan like a ridiculous amount of money to each other. It was just so ridiculous on its face that they could have a negotiation process between themselves.
I mean, the whole experience between Tether and Bitcoin and Gemini and Bitcoin is a perfect way of trying to explain why the gold standard was a failure, and why getting off the gold standard was so profitable for the vast majority of the world. Like Gemini decreasing in Gemini dollars because it's not liquid, because when you don't have the ability to print on demand, you don't have the ability to invest, or if somebody takes a run on your bank, you're fucked. That's just the way it
seems to, just from an outsider perspective, be a victim of like kind of over markets being top heavy, I guess, with like huge holders.
Yeah, it's crazy. So where do you see, like, it's like, because you're a very skeptical person, where do you see cryptocurrency in 5 and 10 years, like 5 to 10 years?
Give us
Honestly,
a few.
Five.
Give us a few answers.
Yeah, in 5 years, it could be a range from. I could see us, price wise, Bitcoin going back down to $1,000 range and becoming kind of a very small, hollowed out shell of what it was.
And if that were to happen,
I don't think that will happen. I don't think that will happen.
But if something were like that were to happen, that would be like some sort of catastrophic event, right? It would be like
catastrophic event. Like that would be a catastrophic event of something to do with like the Satoshi wallet movement, or some kind of crazy. I can't even think of an event.
Or Tether,
but I think it's possible.
Or if Tether falls through, then that would obviously cause a big problem, or something like that.
That would cause a big problem. That would cause such a humongous problem for even exchanges like Coinbase, because they, I think, are receiving a lot of Bitcoin from not just Bitfinex but other exchanges, or people on them selling Tether for Bitcoin. And in order to get actual USD, not USDT, come to an exchange like Coinbase.
So let me interrupt real quick. Apparently, you can redeem your tethers for actual US dollars. But if you're listening and you've actually done that before, then hit us up, because we want to have you on the show.
Yeah,
I've never heard of anybody actually doing that, and I don't know how to do it. I've tried to look it up and to see how I could redeem tethers for dollars. But I think it's a myth. I don't think it can actually happen. Anyway, so that's scenario number one.
And Coinbase actually, I think Coinbase can block some people from
they do, and there's
selling their Bitcoin into cash and cashing out. I think just for that reason, because they're like, wait a minute,
it's not unchecked.
Yeah.
Not unchecked, and
I think also just for the sole purpose of, if you haven't been investing US dollars into their exchange, I could see that easily being, or if it's not now, eventually being in their terms of service saying you can't ever cash out unless you
wouldn't want to cash out. I wouldn't want to cash out of Coinbase if I never put any money in. That would totally look like money laundering or something. Like,
yeah, most people aren't intelligent.
Yeah, if somebody's sending $400,000 to Quadriga, that's pretty idiotic. Okay, so that's scenario number one. Bitcoin falls, something catastrophic happens.
That's scenario number one. I would put that at, very unlikely, but possible. Just putting that out there. Or we could, and this is based on, I think Mansion is his username, but some person who posts a lot of photos of charts. But we could hop from kind of the 9,000 or thereabouts range up to back where the meat of the 2017, 2018 bubble was, kind of bounce back and forth. And in 5 years, we could be anywhere in between that.
And you're saying that if that were to...
Which would be great for traders.
Yeah. If that were to happen, that would mean that the exchanges and whales have control and they're just going to continue manipulating to get some money.
Or if there's more kind of regulation, and if that's in the form of self-regulation, that would be nice, but I don't think it will be. But if there is more transparency among the exchanges, I think there could be a lot different dynamics going on as far as price discovery goes. If there's less, what I think is paper money being traded, it would be like a kind of different, there's like all these different terms to describe it, like liquidity profile and whatever. But it'd just be a different kind of universe. If Tether has to provide actual transparency, even that would be a big change.
So,
like if they continue operating how they were, but gave more insight into actually how they operate, then I think, larger traders with actual new to crypto capital, if more of those people come in, it kind of could balance out a doomsday effect of even a Tether like collapsing scenario. All
right. So that's a possibility. What do you?
Or I perfectly.
So hold on. Let's stop because we can sit there and keep saying, well, it could be this, it could be. What do you actually think? Like, what's your
Well, I don't own Bitcoin. I don't own Bitcoin, so that should kind of signify what I think of it.
Well, I'm not talking about Bitcoin. You brought up Bitcoin. I just mean in the crypto space in general. Like, what do you think?
And I'm curious what you think is going to happen.
I think
not just price.
That there's going to be a stigma attached to crypto in 5 years. I think there's going to be consequences from what I view as just rampant fraud and manipulation right now. It's very possible in 5 years that crypto could be kind of seen in the same kind of category as like belief in aliens. I've joked about that with my friends, or kind of like
we've talked about that before.
Very
not
much a joke. I don't know.
A joke, or at least some sort of.
I don't know what a more public kind of appraisal of crypto will look like, because I think that the representation of people in crypto today is just so wildly different from, the real world. It's like very difficult to gauge, what the kind of wider audience will like about different coins.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about that a bit on the show. The idea that like even the word crypto will be kind of a cringe, or the word blockchain already kind of sounds like something like, oh, really? Are you going to talk about blockchain right now? Or but
it all could just continue to go in cycles.
So here's the thing. So Bitcoin is being used on the dark net. It's being used in the black market. It's being used for international remittance. It's been being used as an escape hatch in places like Venezuela. I mean, we're still going to see that kind of adoption. In your opinion, what's going to happen to that in the future if like what you believe about crypto comes true?
Well, then, I think logically, Bitcoin trade volume will be a lot higher if it does kind of, and it is catching on with people in countries like Venezuela for as just a way of storing wealth not on a bank, which is a very, very, I recognize the useful or the utility of that. So obviously, if trends continue as they are and kind of more people are bringing their capital to hold on the blockchain, then that would kind of perpetuate, kind of the trajectory that it's had. And there's a lot of people who can zoom way out and show and draw lines and show you like how that moonshot looks like.
Right.
I'm not one of them.
Okay. So what are some other scams then that you believe in or that you know of that you like to talk about? Because I know that you've written about a bunch of them.
Well, in 2 weeks, Jared Rice of Arise Bank, the first they call himself like the first blockchain bank or something like that, was a scam. But in 2 weeks, he's going to be given his like real official sentence for like $4 million fraud, because what he did was tell Jared Rice Jr. Founded this ICO called Arise Bank with the help of Stan Larimer from BitShares, who is Dan Larimer's dad. And Stan Larimer has promoted a lot of these ICO scams, but Arise Bank is the one that has exploded in the best, or not best, but worst fashion. Jared Rice told people they had already raised $600 million from private investors, and that they were gonna open up the sale to the public, and have it public until they reach $1 billion. Like their goal was to reach $1 billion to build the Arise Bank platform. And really, they only took in about $4 million. A lot of it in BitShares, which they sold off.
God.
And the government had seized all that, and you can read a very detailed description of how they found the wallets and how they kind of reverse engineered like what they actually did with the assets when they got them. But it was just a very simple fraud, and I think that not that the majority of the ICOs that happened last year were a fraud to that degree, but I think that the environment of ICOs and the environment that I got to see, I didn't see people at the ICO advisory I was working at. I didn't see anyone directing someone to break the law. I definitely saw people giving advice that could very easily lead to a situation of them having become a broker by accident.
Okay.
Become a money service business by accident.
We see a lot of that, yeah.
And get a letter from the CFTC or SEC or anything like that.
I used to. I had a part-time gig where I was writing, not something I'm super proud of, but I was basically writing reviews of ICOs for this online newsletter. I did it under a pen name. And so many of them, when I would read these white papers, and white papers for an ICO is not a technical document. It's basically a pitch deck or something with a roadmap and a bunch of like Polaroids of people who, are supposedly went to good schools that are part of these projects. This is the ICO craze of 2017. And so many of these were like, yeah, we are just a platform for people to build things and sell things on. And I mean, almost every single one of them, if allowed to scale, would end up becoming something like the Silk Road or something like an illegal bank or something like that. And it was just like going through every single one. It didn't matter what their theme was, whether it was, academics or whether it was, cars or video games or whatever. It was all kind of the same thing.
Or a surveillance kind of state situation. I had a very uncomfortable conversation with like a salesperson at our company. I was just trying to get across my disgust of this white paper that was kind of describing it was like the Brave ad browser, basic attention token, but reversed to be in favor of publishers.
There's a lot of those actually. There's more than you realize, because everybody sees how much money there is in both advertising and that sort of stuff.
It might make it easier to go through with legitimate or the kind of standard process of venture capital rounds. If you're more business friendly rather than trying to be a totally, decentralized, laissez-faire kind of thing.
I mean, I'd like to say those people just don't understand what blockchain is, but they understand what business is, and they see that the money's coming in. And
so there's obviously like just a ton of salespeople and traders and everything else that kind of, I think, are in crypto because of the just volume of activity. They're drawn to, similar to, I've read an article about how the Super Bowl attracts a lot of con artists.
It's interesting that you would say that because I remember actually watching a Trevon James video, and he said something that was actually very true, or it was actually a good thing that he said this, but he was talking about some coin or ICO or maybe it was a gambling site or something, but he was saying, don't go near this site if you're the type of person that is attracted to Ponzi schemes. He actually said that. And I remember stopping and being like, is there a type of person who is attracted to Ponzi schemes? And it's like, oh man, like that's so many people people in crypto.
If not Ponzi schemes, then like multi-level marketing.
Like can't resist that. I feel like. And
well, we also have to remember that Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is like the hot new band that you don't want everybody to know about, and then eventually everybody finds out about it, and then the people who knew about it first are like, "Well, fuck you! I used to know back then."
But there's a different element, and that is everybody kind of wants to shill their favorite band so that their band brings something back in for them, and I think that.
Yeah, but that's how the free market works. That's just the reality of like you can't keep a good band down, or like it's secret for too long. Eventually, a good band is going to get out, and I think that's kind of what Bitcoin is. Even though it's got a lot of faults,
I see people.
It's that band.
For
that's
me, I see
out.
like, okay, here's this new thing. It's this hot new thing. It's bright and shiny. Everyone's attracted to it, particularly those people who are addicted to the multi-level marketing pyramid type scheme things. And then you've got all of these people like the OTC Bitcoin guy, the Korean scammer guy, like people like that who are just like this, like, here, like hold my coat and my hat while I go and do my dance. It's like their show. Yeah. They're coming in here and they're like, watch me spin plates and, get this here. And I mean, it's a shit show for that kind of thing. And I know people who have been scammed over and over again, and they're going to keep getting scammed because they can't not. So how do we help people like that who are just kind of looking for the next thing that you
can't help
maybe
people like that.
You
can. Those people, like you said, they continue to get scammed over and over again. You think nobody's telling them? Yeah. Like, he's writing his article. You're writing your articles.
I can't help them. One, if they don't read my articles.
Exactly. It's ironic when I heard Trayvon James say that, being like, "Hey, like, save yourself. Don't go near this if you're this type of person." It's like, well, you're already watching Trayvon James, so.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So you're already like susceptible to getting scammed.
And I think people can, especially if they're making a living like he is by crypto, can kind of rationalize a lot of this activity. Rationalize, like, advising people to use leverage when they haven't traded before.
So there's a few different types of people that you need to kind of avoid, and those are the people who enable that sort of behavior because they're making their money from it, either in content creation or from affiliate links or something like that. And then there's like the people who are actually shilling things that you're going to lose money on. And then
I think the space has gotten a lot better since last year. At least the stuff that I see on YouTube and the conversations I'm in on Twitter. I think.
Yeah, but we also went through a massive bear market.
So I was going to say, I was going to flip and say it's also a little bit less active. So maybe it's just a higher concentration of more informed people.
Yeah, I wonder if the scammers this next bull run, this next time around, are going to be more sophisticated, or they're going to be harder to they're going to be harder to identify, or I just don't know. So hard to tell because I guess it wasn't too hard to tell in 2017 who was legitimate and who wasn't. But
if you were new to this space, I think it was hard. But I think it's really telling that when I was watching your Bitfinex Tether video, that almost half the YouTubers that you had clips from just aren't around anymore.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, that guy's gone. Oh, that guy's gone too. Oh, haven't seen him for 7 months, 8 months.
Back to web development.
YouTube is a really interesting phenomenon because you have people making videos that they proclaim to be experts on something, and because they make content that people can watch every day, and they produce content every day. It's something that actually Crypto Daily, who Michael and I have met before. Crypto Daily has this show. When I met him and I was asking him about being YouTuber, he said one of the things about being YouTuber that's really kind of weird is that people feel like they have a personal relationship with you, even though you've never met them. Now, I think that all famous people kind of feel that a little bit because that's every actor. But when you're used to putting yourself on YouTube every single day, and you know that the person watching on the other end is most likely watching alone on their phone or on their laptop, they're not watching with friends or anything like that. It does create a sort of different thing in the consumer's head. And so when a consumer finds somebody like that, there's some sort of trust that is set up there. And that's why so many people trust like Superman and shit like that.
Justin's son does Periscope stuff where he's talking directly directly to the camera. Just you and me.
Yeah.
Here's the update.
And I think that at least in 2017,
don't tell your friends,
there wasn't a whole lot of content on YouTube or in the space at all that was educational about crypto.
Right.
So any person just learning about it, I mean, me, when I would go on and try to like find out, I had no idea who was telling the truth and who wasn't. I just kind of had to like guess, okay, this person's talking about mining. They must know what they're talking about. Even though the next video, they would turn around and like say something that was just totally insane. Just because somebody's been in crypto for 5 years doesn't mean they know what they're talking about. It doesn't mean they're going to try to help you.
Right.
No, and you also have to remember that like people who are have been really successful are usually successful because they don't care how many people they step on to get there. And so if you're listening to these people who are multimillionaires or, huge successful people, you gotta check that out. Like, do they have morals? Do they have,
maybe,
do they not care about people? Do they, are what they're advocating for, is what they're advocating actually dangerous for society, even though it's beneficial for them to make money?
I mean, a golden question that I often have is like, why do people who proclaim to be millionaires still pander to like try to get followers on Twitter and YouTube to build up their egos? That seems a bit strange. Even somebody like Naval Ravikant, like, why is he on Twitter trying to like boost his ego, talking about how to get rich and stuff like that? It seems a little odd. Now, in his case,
narcissism.
In his case, I think that he's actually trying to do something. In Naval's case, I think this is some sort of academic pursuit for him or something like that.
Yeah,
he's just
I
interested
agree.
in it. Or he's just doing it because he's bored. But most people, it's like, why do you have a YouTube channel about how to get rich? Like, or why are you trying to get followers to follow your day trades if you're a successful trader? Like, that question doesn't come up enough, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
The logical answer is that people who are trading and talking about the trades that they're taking on Twitter don't actually trade, or they don't trade with a lot of money.
Right.
They're on there to get you to follow them so that they can have influence. Eek.
Yeah. And I think a lot of them probably just really, really get like a dopamine kick from just accelerated like growth of this stuff. It's like
sure, yeah.
There's like a whole mentality, and it's not unique to crypto, but you get kind of drunk with that.
I noticed there were some Twitter accounts that they were new around last summer, like 2018, the middle of the bear market, and they went from 0 followers to like 10,000. And I wonder if there are people who have just done this before and they get a thrill out of creating that sort of thing. Like it's almost a game for them. Because some of them are like, all you do is post charts or talk about how the bull market's going to come back or something like that. And it's like, oh man, these people can, as long as I have an internet connection, I can create a business. And my business is just going to be me tweeting every single day, every hour or whatever.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks so much for coming on the show. Is there anything else? I feel like there's got to be at least.
There's a lot of other stuff. The one, and I think I mentioned in my DM to you, but my favorite ICO to talk about is titanium blockchain. But it's totally fine that we didn't.
Titanium. Well, no, let's talk about
September. He's actually going to trial. So different. Okay, we can talk about it because it's totally different from Arise Bank in that Michael Stellaire is saying he's innocent of the fraud.
So tell us a bit of a backstory for because I don't know what you're talking about.
Titanium blockchain is one of, if not the only ICO that had to reissue their token after claiming to have been hacked. They said they were hacked, and their token was T-bar, or their symbol, and this was around probably April of February last year, or April of last year. I don't know why I said February. They said they were hacked. They said they had a partnership with Microsoft. They said that they were going to build a blockchain with 10,000 transactions per second. All this fantastic stuff, but the SEC came down on him with like a complaint saying, basically the SEC said, we went and talked to Microsoft and Intel and whoever else he said that he had a partnership with in their white paper. They said that they were already working with these people. But that guy says he's innocent and he's going through with the trial, which I don't know of any other case in the crypto space that actually is going through the trial, except for I guess this Kleiman case is going through a trial right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's one.
Big.
But he's a character. He made weekly videos for Titanium blockchain, promoting such activities as the Titanium Girls, which was women in the community that agreed to be called a Titanium Girl and be sent a Titanium blockchain shirt and take photos and all this other very classic multi-level marketing stuff. And they had an affiliate program and everything like that. But I loved learning and reading and talking to people who invested in Titanium blockchain about why they did. There's one guy on YouTube that he lost a lot of money on Titanium blockchain, but he's still around and still making videos this year. But he's named Keith Waring. I think it's Weiring. But he made like a video after Titanium blockchain was shut down by the SEC, basically saying that he was going to rehab and that it really messed up his life. But since then, has kind of made like a recovery and I don't know. It's a good story and
Is the CEO of Titanium blockchain, is he kind of like a Elizabeth Holmes type person where he's
Michael
just
Stellaire actually is his
obvious
music name. It's not his real name.
His music.
It was his name that he put out like CDs with, and then he used it for his ICO.
Great.
There's videos out, or there's pictures out of him in like a Flame t-shirt and a $350 Jackson guitar. Really cool guy.
$50 Jackson guitar.
Really cool guy who scammed a lot of people and bought a condo in Hawaii, according to the complaint.
Yeah, he's like,
that's how you do it.
Don't go for the millions, billions. Just go for the condo and cash out.
But the trial is in September, and I actually might be traveling to. I think it's in Texas.
And when you travel for these things, when you go to these things, is it pretty much for entertainment, just because you love it?
It's also for. I actually want to get into long form journalistic writing.
That's good.
Nonfiction writing, and so this is like practice. When I went up to see a hearing for the Quadriga case, and this was a bankruptcy hearing. It wasn't even a trial, but it was super interesting just to talk to the other journalists who went. There were some creditors who went, and also we spoke with. So I went with, and this is an awesome Twitter follow, but Amy Castor, AH Castor on Twitter, but she's a writer. She has a Patreon, and she's covering crypto and also is a skeptic. But we went up just for entertainment and for, on the ground research. It was super fun. I highly recommend it.
Interesting. Well, I think that there's room in this space for that kind of creativity for sure. I mean, we've got journalists and we've got personalities on Twitter and on YouTube, but we don't.
I'm excited for. I've been hearing about a lot of documentaries that are in progress.
We've got some documentaries that are coming out. We probably have a lot more. We have a lot more books probably, and hopefully we'll get fiction and nonfiction. And and now we've even got I've seen some like music, some more crypto related music going around, which is very interesting in my opinion. I was wondering when that was going to happen. Even some of the art's been pretty fucking weird and bad, but anyway, we got to wrap up the show. But Kyle, thanks so much.
I had an excellent time.
What's your Twitter? What?
Yeah, really fast. Let us know where people can find you.
Find me at Kyle S. Gibson on Twitter. KY1E Gibson on Instagram if you like photography. And I put out some crypto themed videos on my YouTube page. It's Kyle S. Gibson. Start with everybody knows Bitfinex is a fraud, but also another one is Brock Pierce saves the world. I like that one.
Those are both.
And
really
then
good.
Are you going to continue to write articles on your blog and Medium? Or
working on an update to a large timeline that I made of crypto hacks. It's going to be the 4th update with some new charts and some like 15 or so more incidents that happened since the time that I wrote it only 2 months ago. So I'm working on that, but I'm hoping to get back into writing about regulation, because I think in the coming years that the money service laws and how they don't match between states is going to be a humongous headache, or already has been for people like Coinbase. But anyone else kind of enter and use crypto for money transmitting, I think we'll run into some issues. Because for one, you have to put up like a $300,000 bond in the state of Texas, for example, if you want to get a money service license just for that one state, which is pretty hard to do if you're a startup.
Wow.
Or a guy developing a crypto wallet, which I hope they don't come down and take that opinion. But yeah, that's what I'm focused on writing about, and you can find it there.
Cool. Well, thank you for all you're doing.
Nice.
And
keep up the great work.
Yeah, totally.
You too. I had an excellent time, and I'm gonna go. Honestly, I hadn't heard your podcast, but I really enjoyed the Vitalik one and the Noah Smith recent one.
Thanks a lot.
Nice. Yeah, thanks for listening.
If you want to follow us on Twitter, it's at keyword crypto, and the website is keyword-crypto.com. And with that, we're going to end the show. So thanks, everyone. Hey, this is JJ. I just wanted to jump back on really quick. After we recorded this, I spoke to Kyle, and he wanted to make sure that his point was clear about the payment processors that were working with Quadriga. And since these payment processors haven't been proven to be criminal yet, some of them are still active today and are still being used by other exchanges. So wherever you're keeping your money, you should be very, very careful. If you're not using a hardware wallet, if you actually do keep it on exchanges, some of these payment processors could still be working with exchanges that you have money on. It's really just another reason why you shouldn't keep your crypto on an exchange. Once again, we are Keyword Crypto Podcast at Keyword Crypto on Twitter. www.keyword-crypto.com is our website. Find us on YouTube. Hit us up, say hello, and let us know who we should have on as our next guest. All right. Thanks, everyone. We actually don't edit the shows that much. We just throw them up there. But we probably, since this one was kind of long, we might actually cut it into two.
Cut this one in. I'll probably just cut this one in 2 episodes like we did with
maybe we can do a show in the future where we have like some specific things that we want to talk about, because that would be kind of cool. We just go through
that would be awesome, because that's how I kind of operate in the way too much information realm.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, well, like next time there's something like some big news that drops that you personally were able to be a part of or like, witness, we'd love to have
July
you come on and
29th is the hearing for the judge deciding whether to throw out the New York Attorney General, like their order against Bitfinex. And I can't wait. I think.
Okay, yeah. That's a good idea.
Nice. Yeah, we'd love to have you
on.
We'll
do something like that. I mean, it'd be good. Like we're looking for friends of the show who want to share what they're finding. So cool.
Awesome. All right. Thank you very much.
Sweet.
All right.
Have a good week.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Bye, Kyle.
You too. Happy 4th.